Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Behind me I have my International 4400 beverage tractor, and it has a little bit of an issue with its engine. Now this particular truck has a MAXXFORCE DT, and for those of you who don't know, the MAXXFORCE was International's attempt to make their engines pass emission standards without using DEF by using EGR instead. This particular truck is a 2010 model. It was built in 2009. And there are a few different variants of not only the MAXXFORCE DT, but the DT466 that evolved into the MAXXFORCE DT. This one is a 2007 emissions engine, and there's differences, pretty big differences in the external stuff on the engine as the emissions years changed. There was, in 2007 is when it went to the MAXXFORCE, and they added the diesel particulate filter, and that lasted through 2010 emissions. 2010 emissions, they made some changes to the EGR system, and they also added a compound turbo system. And then I think it changed again in 2013, where they added DEF, I believe, to those. But beforehand, they didn't use any DEF. They were just EGR trucks. The 2005 emissions were still called the DT466, and they did have EGR coolers, but they did not have a particulate filter. They were kind of the last of the fairly reliable DT466s. The EGR cooler is one of the major weak links in the MAXXFORCE DT, and they are a common failure. They crack internally, and they leak coolant into the exhaust that is recirculated into the engine. So they use two EGR coolers on the 2007 emissions MAXXFORCE DT, and you'll see this side right here is the cold side, and the hot side is on the other side. The hot side EGR cooler is this one up here, right above the turbocharger. The 2010 emissions trucks of the MAXXFORCE DT, they went to a single EGR cooler instead of dual. They're just as prone to cracking internally. Thankfully, there is a company, Bulletproof Diesel, does make EGR coolers for both of these versions, and they're about $2,500 to $3,000 depending on where you buy them. And they are a vastly improved cooler, and they don't have the cracking problems that the other ones does. Unfortunately, when they do crack and start leaking coolant into the exhaust gases that are pulled back into the engine to recirculate, it can cause other damage. Hopefully you've got a good driver that takes note and checks their fluids every day, because if it caught early on, it's not a difficult fix. It can get a little expensive to replace the coolers, but it's not too hard. Unfortunately, with this truck, what I suspect has happened is that the driver didn't catch an EGR cooler failure and let it progress to where it was pretty catastrophic. One of the very important things on not only the MAXXFORCE DT engines, but the 2005 and later DT466s is this coolant bottle. The normal level is between these two lines right here, and notice this area is above the EGR coolers. You never want to let the EGR coolers go dry or have air inside of them, because then they will crack. So if it starts to leak, this will drop down below those, and now you're going to definitely have problems. So if your drivers are checking their coolant regularly and it's nice and clean coolant, hopefully you can catch this early on. Another note about this, so this is a MAXXFORCE DT, but this information also applies to the MAXXFORCE 9 and the MAXXFORCE 10 engines as well. They're nearly identical engines. It's the same block, but it has a longer stroke. It has been stroked to 570 cubic inches instead of 466 cubic inches like this one here. Another note, in 2005, when they came out with those, they were 24 valve engines instead of 12 valve engines, so they breathed a lot better. Unfortunately, they also choked it down with the EGR, so the power increase was kind of a wash. So based on the information I got from the previous owner and some earlier troubleshooting I did, what I believe happened on this truck was that the EGR cooler failed and started leaking coolant into the exhaust, which was drawn into the engine. The driver didn't catch it and just kept driving it and kept driving it and kept driving it, only making the problem worse. And eventually, as that coolant is drawn into the engine and burned, it creates steam, and it sort of steam cleans the inside of the cylinder walls, washing all the oil off the cylinder walls and causing extreme wear on the pistons, the rings, and the cylinder walls. When doing so, it starts burning a lot of oil and pumping that oil through the turbo and out the exhaust, and it makes for a nasty mess. In theory, if I am correct about this, this truck will need an in-frame, and it will probably need exhaust filters. And luckily, when I purchased this truck, they had tried to fix this, so they had put brand new EGR coolers on it and flushed the cooling system. So the initial problem has probably been solved, and it had clean coolant in it, and the EGR coolers look to be brand new. However, they didn't repair the damage that was caused by the cooler failure. So let's get the exhaust and the turbo opened up and see what we can find. This is the turbocharger we pulled off the MAXXFORCE DT. As you can see, it's actually a renewed International OEM rebuilt turbocharger assembly. This is a variable geometry turbo. This was used on the 2007 emissions trucks, so 2007 production through 2009 production. It's variable geometry turbo, which is kind of cool, and I'll show you that here in a second. This electric solenoid motor thing is what operates the variable geometry turbo. When I started pulling this off, I tried to spin this, and it wasn't good because it did not spin freely. I was like, oh no, now we're going to have to buy a turbo too. However, this truck only has 245,000 original miles on it. For a commercial truck like that, that's generally only about half its service life, so this is somewhat of a low mile truck. I cracked this thing open, and what you got here, this is your variable geometry turbo, and it was just nasty in here. These are what move your vanes inside the turbo. You can kind of see them down in there. See if I can move it there. You can see them pop out. This ring rotates from that motor, and it changes how the air hits the turbine wheel. But when I got this thing apart, this thing was so sooted up on the inside. Back behind this wheel, it was dragging. But I've cleaned it a little bit, just real quick, and it's already freed up. So thankfully, I don't think we're going to have to buy a turbocharger, but I'm definitely going to have to take this all apart and clean it really good. Because of all this soot, this kind of confirms a little more of my theory about it burning up the cylinder walls and belching a bunch of oil and clogging up the exhaust system. These are usually a little bit sooty, but not to this level. It's dropping chunks of soot every time I touch this thing. So this ring, it's operated by this little square. This little square interfaces with this guy right here, which has a rod that's moved by this actuator, and that is what rotates and then moves the VGT vanes, moves them all at the same time. Can't really do it one-handed, but you can see how nasty that is. We're going to clean that up. Let's take a look at the exhaust. We'll pull the filter off real quick. When I drop the exhaust off the truck, you can see the downpipe goes into this first chamber here. There's a honeycomb inside that, and then it goes into the actual diesel particulate filter, and then it goes into this final, I think they call it a diffuser, and then out the exhaust. There's also some sensors. This is a differential pressure sensor, so it measures the difference between the front chamber, that one, and the rear chamber, that one, and that tells the computer how clogged the diesel particulate filter is. So that goes on this little rail. It's mounted alongside the diesel particulate filter, and there's a tube running to each one. There's also temperature probes. There's one in the back, there's one in the front piece, and there's also one that goes here that I've already removed. These was very difficult to take apart. These sensors, I ended up having to cut it off and take it out in pieces. There's a couple of chunks right there. The one I'm still struggling with, though, is this connection right here. It's just a band clamp, but my goodness, is that difficult to get apart. Unfortunately, these three components right here combined are almost $10,000 to buy replacement. This one, thankfully, is nothing. You can actually see right through it. It's just a diffuser. Not a big deal. I can clean that up right here. Diesel particulate filter, I have to send that off, and I can have it cleaned. If I have to buy a new one, it is like, I think it's almost $7,000 by itself from the dealer. There's a couple aftermarket companies that sell them a little bit cheaper, but not much cheaper. This first one is also needs professionally cleaned. From what I'm told, there's a place in Albuquerque that'll do it for about $600. If they've been oil and coolant soaked, which I suspect these have been, it is $1,200 minimum to have them cleaned. Now, I was talking about how we're going to check out the inside of this one, and let's look at the outlet first. The good news is the outlet is white, and that's something they told me, that if the outlet of the DPF is black, it's not cleanable. However, thankfully it's still white, so that means that it probably can be cleaned. However, this filter is completely plugged. I mean, I've never seen anything quite this bad. So I'm hoping they can clean this thing, because it is really bad. However, they told me that if the back part of it's white, it's likely they can clean it. So hopefully we can save this piece, because it's super expensive. This one here that goes into the DPF, it's pretty dirty too. I forget what this one's actually called, but I don't think it's so much of a problem that it's black on the back side. But I can't see the front side because I still can't get this apart. I may take it to them like this and see if they'll split it apart. So I think my theory might be correct of what the failure was in this truck, and I'll start tearing into it, and we're going to have to remove the head to be able to prove this. Once I get the head off, we can find out if there's a bad ridge on the cylinder sleeves, and if so, we can just plan on doing an in frame. And I guess I'll bring you guys along. I'll do a little series with this so you can see it along the way. There is some other great YouTube channels out there that show a lot of this stuff and about the MAXXFORCE engines and how to tear them down and fix these common problems. Joe's Bus Barn, he works on a lot of school buses, and a lot of school buses use these MAXXFORCE DTs, and it's a good channel. He goes all the way in depth with teardowns and repairs. But I think I'm going to do a little series with this. We'll tear this down, I'll show it to you and see what it needs, because there's a lot of these trucks out there, and you can buy them pretty cheap, so they're tempting to buy, but as long as you fix the problems. Some people will say, well, you should delete this thing, and yes, that is an option. There are places out there you can use to delete these things. However, at this moment it's still against federal law, so I won't be doing that at this time, but maybe someday. But anyways, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more on this series, and I hope you learned something along with me. Thanks.